Hello, hello, good morning, everybody. Good morning. How you doing this morning? I hope you're doing awesome. Welcome to another live art class. I'm Charlie Newton, and this is Splash Live Art Class. It's free for everybody. So we're going to do another drawing today, and we've been talking about figure drawing. We're going to do another figure today, and this figure is going to be very difficult for me to do. One thing I want kids to understand, that drawing is not easy, painting is not easy, it's very, very difficult. And that's why there are museums and galleries to exhibit artwork. That's why art costs so much, because it's not something that's easy to do. Building a building is not easy to do, but with time and work and know-how and the right materials, you can build a building. So the fact that something may be hard should never prevent you from trying. Remember, kids, nothing beats a failure but a try. Okay? If at first you don't succeed, try again. So keep those things in mind. Always keep in mind that you can do all things. Remember, never let your mind tell you that you can't do anything. Remember, you can do it. It just takes time. That's all. It takes work, it takes time, and you'll get better and better. And that's why we're doing the art class. Everything that we do in our classes are for practice. Also, I want to remind kids before I get started that yesterday we started our Shelter in Art live studio on Facebook. And you can see me start a painting and finish a painting. And I'm also planning to have a guest artist. It started yesterday on the 15th to celebrate Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday. And it's going to go on to February the 15th because what we're doing is celebrating Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday and Black History Month. And it's not often that you get a chance to see an African American artist in his studio. So we want to give you that opportunity. For Splash Kids, you need to connect with me this coming week about picking up some art supplies to use during this project. This project was sponsored by or supported with a grant from the Tennessee Arts Commission, COVID Resilience Fund. Excuse me. And so we thank the Tennessee Arts Commission for helping us to do these and other projects. Okay, so let's get started. All right, so last time we drew this lady here, and drew this lady from this photograph. And so today, what I want to do is draw this guy right here. He's pouring water. Here's the guy, a farmer in Bangladesh. He's pouring water. So what I do and what most artists do who are figure painters or drawers, we collect photographs and images. If we see a photograph that we like, and you don't necessarily know how you're going to use it, but we will collect those photographs, and one day they may show up in our painting. And we take photographs, but also we borrow photographs. So you can see in the drawing that we did yesterday, this is a lady in Africa that runs a recycling thing to help her village. But what I did is I reappropriated. In other words, I used her as my inspiration to do a Black Lives Matter sort of drawing. I wanted, thinking about Dr. King, what he stood for, and thinking about Black History Month, what we are facing as black people in our nation today, and celebrating Dr. King's birthday and Black History Month. All this was going through my mind and my spirit. And so I didn't know when we started sketching this is what was going to happen, but this is what happened. And so we're showing the strength of a black woman. Today in the movement, black women are really stepping up to the plate and showing their strength. And really proud of our matriarchs today. They are actually leading the way for all of us. So that just shows you how, a figure could be translated into something different. So this guy, this is a very difficult drawing. So I want to show you what I'm looking at. First, I'm going to use this model here to show you sort of his shape. He's bending over. His elbows are down. I don't know if you can see this. I may hold it up to this camera once I get it. One foot is back, and he's pouring water. I'm going to show you on this front camera. Can we see that?
Yeah. Okay.
So he's bending over, looking at the ground, and he's holding a jug. His elbows are down, and his hands are gripping the jug. So what his wrists are doing is very important. What his legs are doing, what his joints are doing. All these little separations here are the joints. And this is what I'm looking at. Okay? So this is what I see. And in my mind, I would normally do a gesture. I do it just because, every artist have their way of doing things. But what I'm going to do first here is to show you what the gesture would look like. Now, the gesture is what you first see. So what I first see is he's bending over. So I have to get that. And that's why I'm making that line here. And I know his elbows are going back. His arms going back toward his waist. His spine is very curved. His two elbows are down. One leg, it's like he's walking, stepping forward, and one leg is back. So, there's a lot of weight on his knee here. A lot of weight is on his knee. This knee here. This is where all the weight is, and you can see it in the picture. That's what's hard to capture. That's what will be hard to capture in the drawing. Okay, and this bend right here will be hard to capture. So we think about, drawing can be very scientific too. So the gravity is pressing him down once he bent over. His hip joint here is strained, and the energy is going down into his knee here, and his foot is planted on the ground right here. Okay. And he's balanced by his back toe, really. So that's the gesture. And you notice the gesture is always fast. Now in the contour, this is what I see. This is what we're looking at. That's why you should practice gesture drawings. You should do hundreds and hundreds of gestures. The contour would be what's going on the outside. Now, I'm doing a fast contour. Contour is much slower. It doesn't matter when you're doing a contour drawing, it doesn't matter if it looks like the thing you're drawing. What matters is that you line up your hand and your eye. You synchronize your hand and your eye. And actually this contour, if I was doing an actual contour of this, it would take much longer. I'm doing it fast so that we don't run out of time. So this should take 10 minutes to 30 minutes. If you could do this, if you could make it, the longer this is, the better it is. Okay, so you have to slow down. With a contour, you slow down your eye. And that happens in your brain. So it's intentional. You have to, on purpose, slow down. On purpose, you cannot judge. Do not judge. Because when you start to judging yourself, you have lost before you even gotten started. So in art, we do not judge ourselves. There's enough people that's going to judge it for you. Don't worry. There'll be somebody to judge it. But all you have to do is just try to be honest when you're making art. When I say be honest, I mean do your best. So I'm going to get a sheet of paper, and as always, I'm going to start with a hard lead pencil. Oh, let me give you an example. We also mentioned doing mass drawing. If you don't see the mass, your drawing is not going to work. And that's the hardest thing to do. So I'm going to give you an example of the mass. So if I'm going to do a mass drawing, I'm just using the side of my pencil lead. And when I see something I need to remember, I make the thing darker, because I'm trying to show the weight distribution as well, the mass and the weight. It's shoulders. I know there's a lot of weight here, a lot of mass there. Elbows going back. You have to almost talk to yourself when you're doing the drawings. He's holding some type of vase or jug. And the strain of his neck, to me, that's going to be the hardest to do, the strain of his neck. So this is not easy for me either. You know, I could choose something to draw that would be easy, but it's just practice. So it makes sense to practice on hard things and not on easy things. So to me, nothing's easy, actually, when I think about it. It's all difficult. And I've been drawing for about 60 years and 61 years. When I think about it, I started drawing when I was 5 years old, like some of you. And some of you draw every day. It's probably because you are an artist in the future. It's probably because you have that talent. At least you have that love for art. And that goes a long way. The love for it goes a long way. Sometimes love and work, hard work can outstrip talent sometimes. Okay. So let's get started. I'm going to try not to talk too much this time. Okay, I'm going to start with my H pencil, HB or 2H, a hard lead pencil, so I can sketch. I want to find out where I want to place this thing on the paper, this figure. So this is where my gesture is. Nothing's etched in stone. So this is just to give me an idea where everything goes. See how light I'm drawing, even though I'm using a hard lead pencil, which makes a light line anyway. I'm not thinking about the clothes. There's plenty of time to think about clothes and things like that. I'm not thinking about what the jug looks like. I'm just thinking about the form as a whole, where everything goes, trying to line things up. And I'm sketching it in this gesture. So I can have hundreds of lines, it don't matter. Now, I have a sharp pencil. The pencil is probably too sharp. So if your pencil is very pointed, be very light as not to dig into the paper. So now I'm going to try to draw his portrait. I need to get the angle of his head. I think I have the angle of his head close to correct. When you draw it, don't scroll. When I say scroll, this is what I mean. Don't draw from top to bottom, or from bottom to top, or from side to side. Right now I'm trying to find out where the guy's head is. If I'm over here, I'm still gesturing to try to find out where everything belongs. And then try to relax. I felt my shoulder just tense up now because I don't, like I say, I don't draw on drafting tables. I usually draw either with a sheet attached to an easel or on the wall, standing up. I used to make my art standing up, all of it. But when I was young, I drew on the floor. The floor was my easel, or a table. A kitchen table can be your easel. If you have your own room, find a place in your room where you can keep your art supplies and your table. When I lived at 1230 Grove Street Court. At the top of the stairs, because when you entered, it was a upstairs apartment. This is in College Hill Courts, the west side, where I grew up. My parents, my mother gave me a table, and I did all my art projects on the table. And my brother couldn't touch that table. Nobody could touch that table. That was really my space. You need a space for your art. Everybody does. So I sketched in his head. I can still make changes. I'm not trying to make this look as, right now, it's sort of like I'm using this picture as a reference, which means is I'm only referring to it, but I can make some changes. Like I've changed his beard a little bit already. I'm not trying to make a photograph. I'm trying to make a drawing. That's the difference. So now, when you're making a drawing, every mark that you make has some type of meaning. Some marks you will keep, some you will throw away. Sometimes you make some marks by mistake that you need to keep. So I'm just sketching this in. Now everything depends on the size of this head here. I'm doing contour now. I imagine that I'm touching his sleeve, that I'm touching this object. If this person was alive, if I was drawing from life, a real person from life, I would still imagine that I'm touching that person's face. Now, there was an art movement called super realism, and that movement, it's around the 70s, I guess, was the heyday maybe. I need to look that up. And it was very much in fashion in the 70s and 80s. And matter of fact, one of my teachers tried to get me to do that. He saw my work in college, and he thought I should be a super realist. He was the only one at UTC that saw that. I still didn't understand what that was, really. But he started showing me some techniques to do super realism. And one of the techniques was to hide the brush strokes and things like that. It's more like photorealism. Now, if you're trying to do photorealism, if you do want to do a photorealistic drawing, You still need to know how to draw like this first, and then there are some techniques that you could use to make your drawing fool you, make the drawing fool a person into thinking it's a photograph. That is possible, but you might use some different techniques, a few other techniques to really enhance that feeling of photorealism. Now, what I want my drawing to do, my personal artwork, I want it to speak to people about humanity, positive. There's so much negative in the world that I think art can heal. I know art can heal. And we've seen from various movements in the past, especially in music, how art can unite. Right now, in our nation, we need to unite. Now, kids, why am I talking about stuff like this? Because when you grow up, these are things that you're going to have to deal with, and that becomes a part of who you are as an artist. Or it may. Some artists don't care; they're just trying to make money. But the power of art is the ability to influence and change things, to somehow make the world better. And this is just my concept. A lot in the 21st century is, the philosophies on art has come out that, art is whatever you say it is, and that's okay. I agree. I don't disagree with that. And art don't have to be anything. I do not disagree with that. But art is something. If you say it's about nothing, then the art is about nothing. So it's still about something. And that's something, even if that something is nothing. So to each his own. Right now I'm measuring, we call this measuring. I'm trying to decide the angle of his arm. I can measure where his knuckles, if I drew a line straight up, his knuckles would hit just under his lip. And that's assuming that I've drawn this exactly like the picture, which I haven't. I can see that right now. I don't mind talking while I'm drawing. You always see something else. Like right now, I'm drawing fast. I don't want you kids to draw this fast. I'm drawing fast because we only have a limited amount of time. But you can take as much time as you want when you're making your art. Unless you're in an art class, there may be a deadline. You don't want to waste time. That's why in our Splash Art class, the only time we allow kids to really talk is if they're talking about the art. Because we want you to finish. We don't want you to fall behind. But our classes usually last a couple of hours. But now, because of COVID, we're just doing an hour class online, because you can always go back and you can pause this after this live feed. You can pause it and go back and work. I'm still doing gesture. I mean, not gesture. I'm doing contour now, trying to figure out where everything goes. Like this back arm here. I'm using my eyes though. Some of this is like, you just draw it the way you see it. I probably won't ever teach super real. There are some techniques you can use. There's some things, some devices, I'll put it like that, you can use to get something super real. But I'm not going to teach that because it's kind of like you would learn how to do that with those tricks, with those devices, but you might not necessarily learn how to draw. And if you don't know how to draw, you don't know how to express yourself. So what good is the art if you can't express yourself? Self-expression, honestly. So I prefer you go for super realism this way, from using these techniques, than some of the other techniques that you could use that would make it easy. Something may be easy, that don't mean that it's good. Something may look like a photograph, but that doesn't mean that it's going to have any real impact. So I just saw something that I'm going to um, focus on later, and that's this jug. Something about this jug interests me. A lot of times when we're doing these, and remember this is practice, there will be something about the picture or the pose. For instance, this guy in Bangladesh, of course, you can see that he's probably starving, and water is a premium. It's a very poor country. And so I'm seeing like his bones, he doesn't have much meat on his thigh. Look how thin his thigh is. I see that. And when I see that, I understand that this is a country that's starving. And most countries that's starving is because of man, it's because of what people do to other people. A lot of the richer countries will take advantage of poor countries. We're in African American History Month and Dr. King's birthday, so we're thinking about people all month. This month, we're going to be thinking about people, the plight of people less fortunate. Our parents used to tell us, eat up all your food because there are people starving. And that didn't make sense to us. We were poor, but there's people who would think that you were rich. Even though we don't have a lot, some of us do have a lot, but our parents used to always remind us that there was people starving in other countries. So what I did was I drew this leg in the wrong place. This leg should be about right here. But I like it where it is because it really exaggerates his movement. So I'm going to have to draw his knee that I can't see on the picture. I'll draw his knee behind his leg. Now I could just move this leg back. This leg, I can look at the space here and I can see that this knee should be about right in here. So, but I don't want to move the leg back. I really don't. So I'm not going to. Now, if I was, maybe I ought to so that you can see. What I'll do, I'll sketch the leg where it should be. It should just be slightly back, not much. So I'll sketch the knee where it should be for you. So the knee should be about right around in here somewhere. Now, it's going to look like he's walking when I sketch this leg. I'll keep that. I'll keep that in the picture. It's going to look like he's moving because I'm going to draw the leg where it should be. You see the difference? Now, in my mind, I have to forget about this line here and not look at it and not notice it, which is difficult to do. But that's a great practice. See, my looking at this leg here is only my judging. It's getting in the way of me seeing what I'm trying to do. So you have to control what's important to you in your mind. A lot of things that you think are important are not. So I like this. I like the two legs here, so I'm going to leave it. I'm going to leave it like that. Now I'm going to see something. I may need to make that leg longer. So what I'm doing, I'm measuring. Trying to measure. That the leg should be about right in there. So I am going to change that a little bit. I'm going to bring this leg down here. Bottom. Okay, I got you. So I'm moving this down. I'm going to make this front leg a little heavier, and the back leg, the back one, it looks like he has 3 legs now, but that's on purpose. I'm going to draw some detail that I don't see in the picture, like his feet, his toes. And now I'm going to get rid of lines that I don't need. So now the picture is beginning to talk or speak about movement, because when you do lines like this, you'll see what I mean in a minute. So now I'm drawing backwards now. So I can move this foot down a little bit. See, I'm going to move that down a little bit too. Anyway, so this part is going to be light. Now what I want to do is I'm going to make myself stop using this hard lead pencil. You can get a lot out of one pencil. Now in class we would do exercises that I can't do on live Facebook, because that would be too boring for you, and that would be just shading. I'm just going to go to a heavy pencil, and I'm going to try to see if I can use the concept of mass and shading to make this picture very expressive. I might even do like a lightning bolt. So now I just feel like being expressive now. Okay? and show you what you can do, some of the things you can do. This is not in the picture. So I'm making my own story up now. Sometimes there have been times when somebody would ask me, looking at one of my paintings or drawings, what is that? Or why did you do that? And I'll say, it's art. Why did you do that? I don't know. I'm an artist. I don't have to know everything. Just felt good. It feels good for me to do this now. Feels right. Sometimes you just do things because it feels right. You don't always know what your art is going to be when you first start. So you have to be free enough to let the art tell you what it is instead of you telling it. So since I have the structure, I can be as creative as I want to be. I'm just going to use a dark pencil. And I've made up in my mind, I'm not going to go any lighter as far as pencil lead. I give myself permission to go darker if I need to. And I want to see if I can make a painting like this is a Charlie Newton drawing. And I said painting because there's not really much of a difference between painting and drawing. But if you can draw, you can paint anything. If you can draw, you can paint. You can't necessarily, if you can paint, it's not necessarily true that you'll be able to draw. Drawing is the foundation of painting, good painting. If a person can't draw, they really can't paint. I don't care. They may be very talented. That's just raw talent, and that's good. Don't get me wrong, that's good. But that's not their full potential. And I don't care if it's abstract painting or what type of painting. Now, when I was in art school, there was a lot of people that grew up in my community who didn't know they could draw because that's all we had was pencils. And they were afraid of painting. They didn't think they could paint. That's another reason why we do Splash, because our kids are not afraid of paint. And the only reason why some of my friends growing up was afraid of painting is because they had never painted before. That's the only reason. And I remember in college telling one of my friends, convincing him that he could paint. He could actually really paint. I remember one friend could actually paint better than me, but he didn't know it. But once he started painting, man, he had this natural ability. So a lot of people my age, they grew up in school drawing, but we couldn't afford to take art classes, so we never had any real painting experience. I did because my mother would buy me, my Christmas was always art supplies. She knew if she got me some art supplies, some color pencils, a painting set, paint by numbers or something, I would be happy. So I had opportunity to practice painting. And that's why I'm very excited about giving you kids some oil paints. It's going to seem like it's a whole nother world. It's different than watercolors. And you're not going to be able to do it at first. But that's okay. It takes time. Once you keep at it. Now, some people actually, they have talent that they didn't know they had. Some people are just gifted. They have a gift. And I've met people like that. I've had students like that before. I've taught classes at Chattanooga State. I've taught classes I was actually the first African American teacher at Chattanooga State. I don't know if there's any more African American art teacher as far as painting and drawing. Uh, That was in the 90s, I think. I don't know if there's been any others or not. But I left there because I wanted to focus more on my own art. So I've taught at UTC. As a student, I taught at Old Dominion as an intern. I did some classes for my friend at Covenant College. I'm saying all that to say this. Just try it. Don't get discouraged. I remember getting discouraged as a kid. And as an adult, I remember getting discouraged when I couldn't do something. But when you keep working on it, it may take a year, 2 years. So what? If you want to achieve a goal, you keep working at it. And one day you will achieve it. So take advantage of getting some of these oil paints. I would have died for that when I was a kid. I mean, to get some real art supplies, it's kind of like, you remember when you used to play with football, and you remember when you only could get a toy football? Then when you really got a real football, the difference that makes, or real basketball, NBA level basketball, it makes a difference, don't it? They feel different. Everything's different. Same thing with art supplies. We use student grade art supplies, but it's like college student grade. So now, what I want is this picture to be about marks, about the beauty, hopefully, for me, the beauty of the pencil marks. The graphite, the beauty of the graphite. I'm going to show his elbow joint there. And you can see, I can see where his muscles come down here and where this pot was kind of heavy, so you can see the strain right here in his muscle. And like I said, I've handicapped myself. A lot of times what I'll do is handicap myself by limiting the colors or limiting the materials. So I'm limiting the amount of pencils I can use. I cannot go lighter. Remember I said that? So I've handicapped myself. And that will bring out more talent if I have any, or more ability, more skill. I'm going to have to use more skill, call upon more skill to try to make this statement. Because it would be easier to use the correct pencil. But I went dark on purpose because I think there might be something in that, in this expression. The value of drawing on a table or the floor is that you can turn the paper around. When you, like I just did. When you're drawing on the wall, you can't do that. I'm still making minor changes and adjustments in my drawing. I just moved his hand a little bit forward. I am definitely not held captive to this photograph now. This photograph is held captive to me. This is going to be what I want it to be. Sometimes I'm using the point of the pencil, sometimes I'm using the side of the pencil. So this is the main, this right here, this, what I'm drawing now is the main leg, the one that I drew that was in the wrong place. That's going to be the main leg. And then the correct leg is going to show, hopefully, motion, represent movement. This guy's skin is dry. I can see that in the photograph now. That's not something that, I noticed before. I wonder what he's planting, what he's watering. We're going to show this back leg, the lines for this back leg. I'm going to leave. I'm going to draw a part of his feet that you can't see in the photograph. Make a slight change there for his toe. He's an older man, so you can see his bones, the bony part of his foot, his toes. Can't see it now? That's Iantha, for you kids who know. Oh. See how this leg now looks like he just moved to that position. I'm going to reposition that back leg. I'm putting some pressure on the pencil now. I don't want to put so much pressure that it makes the pencil shiny, the marks shiny. I just wanted to make the marks darker. If you put too much pressure, the marks will become shiny, and that ruins your drawing as far as exhibiting your art. The gallery people will know that you still have some work to do. You still don't understand. What's the use of making the drawings? Nobody can see it, because drawings have to be placed under glass. So you really want to use your pencil. Now I'm thinking about going even darker, which is going to make this thing even harder to control. But I'm a guy that, well, this is a 4B. Yeah, I can go darker. This is a challenge. When I go darker, now this paper I'm using is rough. It's not too rough. It's soft. I put it like that. This paper I'm using is soft. So the darks can get pretty dark. Sharpen this pencil. I want to use the point of this pencil to show detail. See the point? My lines vary. My lines they're not on all the same width or weight. You teenagers and high schoolers, that's what you need to work on, line variation. College students, you need to work on that too. That's something that you learn in college, but you can start now, line variation. So I'm going to go heavier, see if I can find a heavier pencil, a softer lead. Like I want a 6B. I'm using a 4B. I see a 5B here. I'll go to the 6B. I found a 6B. See, that lead is heavy. It's thick too. I'm going to see what I can do with it. See if I can express something with this heavy lead. Okay, this is something I mentioned when I first started. Something I want to do with this pot. This shape is the reflection of his arm on this black pot. That's what that line is. Remember, I vary the pressure. He's pouring out water. And it's starting to rain. Yeah, it's starting to thunder and lightning. It's rain. And maybe that's a symbol of his life, his hard life. Now I'm going to go back with the very dark and accentuate some of these areas in his face and his body. Just little areas. Make it stand out a little bit more. Need to put a point on here. Using a little pointillism. We haven't talked about pointillism, but most kids know about that. You studied that in school, I'm sure. And please remember with drawing, the more you look, the more you see. That's why you don't really want to rush drawings. Because I'm seeing things now that I didn't see before. And even though has taken me an hour, this is a short drawing. A drawing would normally take, of this type, would usually take a little bit longer. So you don't want to rush it. Again, I draw fast anyway, but I've done a lot of drawings in public, so. But you don't really want to draw too fast. Take your time with your art. Just hinting at a background. Maybe something is beginning to grow here. something back there. Maybe some collard greens. Excuse me. But I think that's going to do it for another day. Let's put some more, use this heavyweight pencil up here. Heavy lead, rather. I don't know why I call it heavyweight. Heavy lead pencil. Put some darker lines on here. Can you see it now?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Then put your name on it and your age. Great. Well, thank you for joining us for one more art class. So glad to have you here with us. Remember to catch us Monday, 12 noon. I'll be in the studio with my Shelter in Art project. You can see me work on a painting and in my studio. Very rare. We have art supplies for kids who want to participate. You can connect with me by inboxing me on or info@splashyoutheartsworkshop.org. That's info@splashyoutheartsworkshop.org. Or inbox me, message me, and we can get your kids signed up to receive some free oil paints and maybe inspire them while they are at home. Thanks again for joining me. And remember, until next time, art is for everyone. Bye-bye.